Hey, what's up guys, it's the Bubble Boy here and welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing a bumper corner repair and a blend into the wing on this lovely Vauxhall Corsa. You can see just a bit of damage here. I've just degreased it a little bit just so I can see what we were working with, but let's give it a full degrease, clean off all of this panel, make sure the damage doesn't go any further, and then we're going to have a walkthrough of the plan for today. So now that the vehicle's all degreased, we can see the extent of the damage. We've got this scuff here, and it's just going into the panel here, where on the wing, or the Corsa I should say, it has broken the lacquer and a couple of coats of the base. So what we're going to do is blend this into this panel, which was offered to the customer anyway. No paint scheme is absolutely perfect, and painting edge to edge on anything will always leave a colour difference between the two panels. With the best will in the world, even using the same paint from factory, 12 months later it is going to be slightly different. The focus of this video is actually going to be blending clear, because as I'm blending we've got this nice hard swage line here. That's what I'm going to blend off of. But first part of the process, let's go and mix up the base coat. The paint code for this is EWP, a paint that I know very, very well. Now it's a paint that blends really, really nicely, but it's always best to mix it up first so you can test the suitability of the paint. You'd want to find out right at the start if it's going to be a poor or a good match, not when it's in primer and you've got to use it. So let's go mix up some base coat. Right, so that is the base coat all mixed up, and I'm really happy with the colour match. Quick tip for you, if you ever want to know how your base coat is going to match before you paint, go and touch in a few stone chips. Not only will that be a nice little present for the customer, I sorted out a few stone chips for you, but it's going to show you the colour match before you even get that far. So, I'm using Q1 tape today, so I've got a few rolls left whilst I'm still waiting for my next order of J tape to turn up. So, as with before, I'm going to tape out the area that I want to sand in so I don't go any further than that. And yeah, let's get this damage sanded out and see how we look after that. So that is the damage sanded out. Now, I've sanded this out with 180 grit, so what we're going to have here is the ring. Now, if you can see that ring has not been feathered out at all, which means that if you were to just use a spot primer especially, but even if you just put the primer on it and then put the base coat on it, what you're likely to get is rings around it, most commonly known as halos in this trade. So now what I'm going to do, now that all the damage is rectified, I'm going to flash over some 240 and then 320 grit, and then even finish with some 500 just to drag those rings back and make sure that we have a nice feathered edge so that it's nice and smooth as it runs through. You're not going to end up with that drop as you get through it. Now again, just another little tip, if you ever find on a car that's perhaps been painted before that the rings won't feather out, spray a couple of sprays of water over the top of it. Feathering it out wet is a lot easier than it is feathering it out dry. But on a nice 21 plate car like this, it shouldn't be necessary. So let's feather those rings back. And there we are guys, that is the rings nicely feathered out. So this is what you're looking for, is a nice feathered edge so you don't end up with any hard lines into it. Now I have actually kept this away from the edge, so what I'm going to do is prep this section of the panel with 600 grit or even 800 grit. Now base coat will cover sort of up to 500, even 400 in some instances, but I would never ever chance more than 500 grit. But what we're going to do is work out, like last time, where we're going to do our blow-ins. So on this, I'm going to be taking off of that line, so I'm going to sand about an inch above that line. That means that if lacquer does make it all the way up there and over that line, I'll still be able to polish flat. I'm going to do a blow-in just under the door down here, or lacquer blends just under the door down here, and I'm going to blend the lacquer into the bumper here. Now, most important thing with clear coat blends is always take it into a subtle area. You don't want to be trying to blend clear coat right the way through the center of a panel, because if for whatever reason it is not 100% invisible, that may show up in the sunlight. So like last time, what we're going to do is prep our blend areas and then prep the rest of the panel. Right, so that's the areas all polished in, ready for my blow-in. So that's along the top of the line, and I've also prepped all the panel with 1500 grit and then run 3000 over the top of it. Now, I have masked up a line on the inside of the door and the door edge, but what we're going to do with this is use J-Tape's foam edge tape to run on the inside of the door. Now that's going to mean that the lacquer overspray that is going to go on the inside of the door is going to leave a soft edge there, so it's not going to be notable at all that this area has been painted from the inside of the door at least. So let's grab that and crack on. I'm also, like last time, going to soft edge this area for my blow-in, but what we're going to use some advanced edge tape along this line and along this line. Now that's got one adhesive edge and one non-adhesive edge, meaning that you can just allow a little overlap, meaning you can spray lacquer up to it without worrying about sticking that foam edge to the vehicle, creating horrible lines and difficulty polishing out afterwards. So let's crack on and get it masked up. And we are all masked up, so you can see I've got my foam edge along my blow-in areas and on the blend of the bumper, because I don't want to lacquer the loading lid. We want to lacquer as little as possible. You can see the wind starting to pick up a little bit, so we're going to try and get a hurry on. But next part of the process is let's soft edge around the damage and around the area that I'm going to primer, and then let's get the primer mixed up. Guys know I exclusively use Sagola guns, so I'm using my Classic Pro XD 1.8 again, and today I'm using Kapci 634 primer. Now I get all of my Kapci products through Advanced Paints in Swindon. They are absolutely fantastic company, but have nationwide delivery, and it's most often next day. Obviously that is dependent on delivery companies. And my Sagola guns I get through Spray Painting Supplies. Neil again is a dear friend of mine, incredibly supportive to my business and incredibly knowledgeable. He not only supplies Sagola guns, he supplies a whole array of products, so make sure to go and give those guys a follow and hit them up if you need anything. Anyway, let's get that primer mixed up and let's get it on the car. Guys, that is the primering all done. As you can see, I've got this nice soft edge. Thank you to J-Tape's foam edge. As I'm sure you can already tell by this point, I absolutely love the, not only foam edge tape, but every J-Tape product. I had forgotten to say previously, all my sheeting is J-Tape, all that sort of thing. And as of, hopefully the next couple of days, all of my boxes of tape and everything will be as well. A couple of things I forgot to mention. Firstly, gun pressures. Now, gun pressures are variable depending on what it is you're trying to do. For small areas, you don't want massively high gun pressure because it's going to blow your product all over the place. Painting outside is different as well. You are going to have to tailor your gun to the temperature, to the environment, to the humidity, all that sort of thing. Also, although I haven't been filming it, my last foam died, hence why there might be a little bit of a quality shift. Don't worry, over the next week or so I am getting a camera and a GoPro, so hopefully going forward they'll look a little bit more polished. But the bits that I haven't been recording, degreasing. Degreasing and tack dragging is your best friend in this industry. That's how you minimize any contamination, any dust, any rubbish from getting into your products. So in between every part of the process, sanding, masking, everything, please make sure that you are wiping down and degreasing your panels. If this was in a body shop or even a garage kind of environment, I would have actually just papered around with primer and then sheeted up afterwards to make sure that there's no dust trapped under here. What I've done instead is wiped it all down, every blend, everything, to make sure there's none. Now, with using gun primer, especially outside, I will always sheet up before, because the potential for overspray is massive, and especially with a high build primer, you don't want to be trying to sand that off or polish that out of elsewhere on the car. But yeah, for the gun pressure for this, I set the fan about a third of the way open, and the gun pressure was running at about 1.2 bar or so. And that's given me obviously this nice finish with the high build primer. So let's get this baked and get it sanded out, and then we'll be ready for some base coat. So that's the primer all baked. Much like last time, I'm going to grab some 500 grit, flat it all down, blend in these edges, and then we'll be ready for some base coat. So that's the primer all flatted. I prepped all the panel again, blown off all the dust, degreased it and tack ragged it. Now what I'm going to do is use my anti-stack gun. I use the MG3000 anti-stack gun that I purchased through my dear friend Neil at Spray Painting Supplies. They're an absolutely fantastic bit of kit. They really do help to minimise how much dust and rubbish you're going to be getting in your jobs. Now for us mobile guys painting outside, it's never going to be zero. Unfortunately, wind, contaminants in the air, all that sort of thing. But 90% of it, or if you can minimise 90% of it, it's going to minimise 90% of your time polishing afterwards. They really are a fantastic bit of kit. Contact Neil at Spray Painting Supplies to get yours. I think you'll be amazed at the price of these guys. Anyway, let's get it blown off and then let's get some base coat. So that is us ready to paint. I have done all of my anti-staticking. I know that's not a word. And we're ready for base coat. Now I use Kapci's base coat seam, as I said earlier, supplied by Advanced Paint. Thank you ever so much, guys. They really are a wonderful company. I get all of my products next day, even if I order it sometimes sort of 2:30 in the afternoon. They always endeavour to get it out with me as soon as possible. And I'm using my Sagola Mini Extreme. Now my base coat gun is set up as a 1mm. I purchased the full smart repair kit. I'm going to do a full video on that in the future. I got mine through Spray Painting Supplies. Again, thank you ever so much, Neil, for all of your help. They really are the best guns that I've ever bought. I absolutely love them. Now when painting this, because we have a blend area, what we don't want to do is flick up into our blend area. If you get base coat underneath your blend, it's not going to polish back, you're going to end up with a hard line. So I'm going to paint away from my blend area, use the nice space that I've got to blend the paint, but making sure that I'm keeping well away from that blend line. Another quick side point, if you're painting across two panels, just be a little conscious of a build-up between the two of them. Whilst it is a repair and it's uncommon for people to take panels off, if you put too much product in between the two of them, it can split, especially again if they need to remove those panels in the future. Just want to protect yourself and future-proof your repairs. Anyway, we're all ready, let's get some paint on this car. That is all based up, blended and covered. Now an important note is that, especially as a painter, but until this is cleared up, you will see the blend areas. The reason being is that you've got paints next to no paint, or next to a matte area, shall we say. So until this is cleared up, you are going to see the blend area. Now let me pop this back on the tripod and let's talk us through the clear coat blending. So now that it's all based up, we are ready to blend clear coat. So what I'm going to do with the clear coat is start here. And with the first coat, I'm going to make sure all of this primer is covered, and I'm going to show the clear coat to my blend area, but I'm not going to go right up to that edge just yet. So there will be some flickings up there, but I want to save that blend for my second coat. So I'm going to start here, bring it all the way around into my blend area on the rear bumper, and then down into what I like to call the dog's leg as my blend area as well. For the second coat, I'm going to go up to this foam edge line. Now, if you left that foam edge there, you will end up with a hard line. So very shortly after the second coat, I'm going to whip that foam edge off, grab some fade out thinners, and I'm just going to dust the fade out thinners into my blender area to dissolve that hard line that we'll put in. That's going to make sure that as it flows out, it flows nicely into the old clear, a quick polish, and that blend will be invisible. So let's get some clear coat mixed up. For this, again, I'm using my Sagola Mini Extreme, this time as a 1.2, and Kapci's 60/50 clear coat. Absolutely fabulous clear coat, fantastic gloss retention, doesn't drop anything as you bake it, and bakes really nice and solidly under the lamp in about 20 minutes. Anyway, let's get some clear coat mixed up and let's get this car sorted. Is the clear coat blended. That is the line got rid of. Now J-Tape's product is so fantastic, it doesn't even leave a line particularly, but those fade out thinners are just going to make sure that there isn't one. Nice little polish up and it will all be finished. So that is the damage all rectified. Done our little blowing down there and down there as well. So let's get this baked and then let's see how it all looks. And there we are, that is all baked and demasked. So what we're going to do is, just like last time, we're going to just run a bit of 2000 and then 3000 grit over our blend areas, give them all a polish up, and it will all be ready to give back to the customer. So let's crack on with that now. And there we are, all finished for today. Panel all painted, paint blended away beautifully, and that clear coat all blended in. So as you've just seen, there's no line, there's no nothing, there's no obvious blend between the two. The orange peel has matched absolutely beautifully, so should be, to the untrained eye, very little evidence of repair here. Or in fact, to the untrained eye, there should be none, hopefully. That's always the plan with Smart Repair. Thank you ever so much, guys, for tuning in again. I'll see you in the next video. Looking forward to it. Any comments, please drop them in the section below, and I'd massively appreciate a like and subscribe. Love to you all. See you soon.